we're going to learn the Ben-Cisco method, which is like YAL for FTO. Ben-Cisco has 5 steps. We solve the white center, then we solve our first 2 triples, a triple being this shape here, with a corner and the triangles on either side. After that, we hold this big block in our left hand and use the free U, R, and wide R layers to build our last 3 centers. Then we fill in the last bottom triple, completing the D layer. Then we just have the last 3 triples left to solve, which will complete the puzzle. So step 1, first center. I'll be showing white here, and with white center, the edges go blue, red, purple clockwise, like how it goes blue, red on 3x3. This center is made of 2 trapezoid-shaped halves, called the small and large traps. The small trap has 2 triangles and an edge, and the large trap has 2 edges and a triangle. The large trap is what sets the color scheme in place, so solve that first. On a scrambled FTO, you should be able to find a triangle edge pair, or form one, in just a move or 2. Once you have a pair, figure out what edge needs to go next to it to turn it into a large trap. Here, that'll be the purple edge, so move this pair to connect it to that edge and create a large trap. After that, you can connect the last 2 white triangles to the last edge, just taking care not to break up our large trap while we do that. And then we can connect them together to complete a center. Step 2 is the first 2 triples. So hold the white center in your left hand with a corner at the top, so you can do U and R moves without messing it up. You'll be making a triple with one of the white corners and the triangles that go on either side of it. To do that, get a white corner on the right and look at what color is on the left side of it. For me, that's purple. So I can do R moves to see if I can pair that up with a purple triangle. Here, I don't have one available, so I can find a purple triangle, for example this one, hold it in the U layer, hide the white corner, and move the triangle into this M slice. Then you can pair them up. Once you have a pair, move it to the right so that you can freely move the R layer again. Then repeat the same process for the other side, this time red. So that's not paired up, but this one is, and so that's my first triple complete. Then I can insert it to the center, but between the correct colors, so it forms a block, and then the second triple. So looking around, I have another corner here. This time, it's already paired up with one side, so I just need to pair up the blues. It's not paired there or there, but I have a triangle here, so that's a completed second triple, and I can insert it in the right spot like that. Step 3 is the last 3 centers. Hold the free slot at the top and use these layers to solve the orange, green, and grey centers. You need to make sure they follow that cycle, orange, green, grey, like how it goes orange, green on a 4x4. And to get the color scheme of each center right, you can look at the edges and reverse the relationship of the colors from how they are on the white center. For example, if I look at the grey edges, I can see blue, yellow, and red. Now if I look at the white center, red is clockwise from blue. So on the grey center, blue will be clockwise from red, and then yellow will be clockwise from blue, filling in that third spot. So this will be the correct color scheme of the grey center. Now once you know the color scheme of a center, you'll just build a large trap. This works just like with the first center, but you can only use these layers. So if I want to connect this pair to this edge, I would want to do F'R, but that affects this triple. So instead, I'll need to wide R, U' to move it there, and then connect them up, creating that large trap. Once you have a large trap, move it to the left-hand side so you can do R moves again, find the other 3 pieces, and then just connect them, forming the small trap, then attach that to the large trap. That center's not done yet though, because it needs to be oriented correctly with yellow on the right. So I'll move that over, and now I'm done with it, and can put it in the back. For the last 2 centers, it's the same idea, but you're more restricted, since you're always working with triggers, like R, U, R' type stuff. You can't freely do R turns, since that would break up the center we just built. One consequence of that is that unlike big cubes, where you can form a bar, and then place it where you want, you actually have no way to do that on FTO. So like here, I have this orange large trap, and it belongs on the front, since our centers go grey, orange, green. But there's no way to move it down directly, because like R, U to R' isn't a thing, right? So instead, you need to build the traps on the face where they belong. I have this pair, and I need a blue edge here to form a large trap. So I can do U to move that edge to the right, and then bring it down, move it into that position, and then back to create this large trap. Then I align it to the left, move that back down, and now I can finish our centers off with just R and U moves. But remember, you can't move a trap to the other side once it's built. So this might look like it's almost done and just needs to be inserted, but in fact, I'll need to break this up and then rebuild it, solving it directly into position. The way you do that is by always reducing down to a case like this, where you have a triangle next to the large trap and a pair you can attach it to in one move, move it over, and back down. The setup is like this shape on big cubes. In order to reach that setup on FTO, you do those RU R' type triggers to get closer and closer to that case. So here, I need to only have one triangle next to the large trap, not a triangle and an edge. So I can insert this one and kick that pair out with like RU R'. Now I have that triangle and a pair, but they don't line up when I do R, right? I need this triangle to be in that position. Now I can move it there with RU R', but that would break up our pair, which we don't want. So instead, we'll move this pair to the right so it gets hidden when we do R. Then move the triangle over, move it down, and now we have that set up. In a case like this, I only want one triangle down here, not two. So I can take one of them out with RU R'. Now I have one triangle, and I need to get a pair in the top. I can form that pair with something like RU R', right? But that creates a small trap, and as we established before, that's a dead end. So instead of RU R', I'll adjust this top face and do RU' R'. Now we have that pair, this triangle, and they can line up and finish off our center. After that, I'll just orient them with yellow on the right, so this one's already oriented, and this one needs to be oriented with a U. That's the last three centers done, and now you'll want to rotate and put yellow on top for the rest of the solve. Step 4 is the last bottom triple. You'll form it using U moves and hedges and sledges, then insert it into the slot, like the last cross edge in YAL. The centers will get messed up temporarily when you do U moves, but this is just like free slice. So long as you don't lose the orientation of a center, you'll be able to just restore them later. Now to insert the triple, if it's facing to the right, place it to the right side of the slot and do R', L', R, L. If it's facing to the left, place it to the left of the slot and do the mirror. To build that triple, find the last white corner in the U layer. If it's stuck in the slot, just insert a corner to kick it out. Then look at the bottom side of it and see if you can make a pair with U moves. So here I'm looking for blue. These aren't paired up, these aren't paired up, and these aren't paired up. That's because my blue triangles are both here in the U layer. I need to bring at least one of these triangles down into this E slice here, and I can do that with a Sledge or a Hedge. Sledge and Hedge work the same way on FTO as they do on pyra. So Sledge would cycle these edges clockwise while flipping the right two, and Hedge cycles these edges counterclockwise while flipping the left two. On FTO it's the same, but it cycles these top three triples rather than single edges. So a Sledge will cycle this triple to that position, that one to here, and that one to here, while flipping these triples over. If I flip this triple, it'll bring the blue triangle from the top down into the E slice. So I can do Sledge from here, and now I have these blue triangles in the E slice, and can make a pair. I wouldn't want to do Hedge from here though, because even though it would have the same effect on this triangle, bringing it down into the E slice, it would also flip over that corner, right? Remember, Hedge flips the left two triples, so it would flip that corner, but I need blue to stay facing downwards in order to form the pair. If I flip it over, then I can't pair this up anymore, right? That's purple and blue, they don't match. So you need to be mindful of which triples get flipped with each of your sledges and hedges. So from there, I can form the pair. Once you have a pair, you want to preserve it by flipping it to the top, and you can do that with a Sledge or a Hedge. So Sledge from here, and now it's at the top, and I can move the U layer freely. And now I'm just going to look for the purple triangle to turn this pair into a triple. Now, I don't see it in the E slice here, or on the top. That's because both my purple triangles are here, stuck in the slot. In order to get those out, I'm just going to insert a corner into that position. Now I have a triangle available, can do a U' to pair it up, and that's the triple built. It's facing to the right, so I'll move it to the right side of the slot with a wide U, right? I can't do regular U because that would break it up, so wide U, and then I can insert it. Then just fix the D layer, and that's our last bottom triple done. Step 5 is the last 3 triples, or L3T, where you solve these 3 remaining triples, finishing off the puzzle. This is split into pair formation, where you form these 3 pairs, and then triangle and corner permutation, or TCP, where you just solve everything. With pair formation, you connect oriented corners to triangles to form pairs one at a time, like with the last bottom triple. However, as well as normal pairs like this, you can also make pseudo pairs like this. Purple and blue don't match, but the only important thing is that neither one is yellow. So this is still a good pair. So with pseudo pairs, the puzzle might look something like this at the end of pair formation. It doesn't matter whether you build normal pairs or pseudo pairs or even a mix. Just do whichever takes fewer moves. So here, I can pair this blue corner with that purple triangle to make the first pair. Then I want to flip it over to preserve it, which I can do with Sledge. Now I have another oriented corner, the purple one, and I can pair that up with this blue triangle with a U to form the second pair. Now I want to flip it over to preserve it with Sledge or Hedge. If I do Sledge from here, it would flip this over, but it would also flip this back right triple. Remember, Sledge flips the front and the back right one. So if I do Sledge, then that pair that I built before will get broken up. So from here, I'd want to do Hedge, which flips the left 2 triples and doesn't touch their back right one. Now these 2 pairs are built and preserved, and I can pair up my last corner with the triangle, completing the pair formation. Now you might sometimes run into a case like this, where you don't have any triangles available for pairing, right? Yellow, 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 because they're all stuck here in the U layer. If that happens, just do a Sledge to bring one down, and then continue. That might also mean backtracking sometimes. Like here, I have 2 pairs built, but the last triangle is here, so I can't make the third pair, right? These 3 are yellow. I need to bring this down with Sledge, but that'll misorient the pair that's already built. Normally that's a no-no, but here it's necessary. So after that flip, you can pair the oriented corner with the other triangle instead, then flip this over to preserve it, using Hedge to not affect that one, and we can continue. Blue, and that's our pair formation. Once pair formation is done, it's time for TCP. Full Ben Cisco does this in one alg, but here you'll solve the corners first, and then the triangles. To solve the corners, you can usually just do a Sledge or Hedge by looking at whether there's a clockwise or counterclockwise cycle. This is the orange-grey corner, so it belongs between the orange and grey sides of the last layer, here. That means we have a clockwise cycle. Remember, Sledge cycles our triples clockwise while flipping the right 2. So I would do a Sledge here, but I do it from this angle to flip those misoriented triples. And there we can see all our corners are solved. If we had a counterclockwise corner cycle, where this needs to go back here, we do that with Hedge. And we do it from the angle where we're going to flip the front and the back left triples, like that. And if you have a 2 flip like this, where the corner's actually in the correct spot, but these back 2 pairs still need to flip over, you can just do a Sledge from the front, and that'll give you one of the other cycles. Finally, you'll solve the triangles. You can have a clockwise cycle with 3 triangles, or counterclockwise, or a 2 swap, like this. If you have a 2 swap, just do this OLL, but from this angle. If you have a clockwise cycle, hold the puzzle here and do this alg. If you have a counterclockwise cycle, hold the puzzle from the same angle and do the inverse. And that's it. FTO solved.